What do you remember about the games between Fischer and Spassky?
Yeah, I was a first category player, so the rising star in my native town, Baku, in the Soviet Union, and we all followed the games of that match. And Fischer's chess was so fresh and so new, and we all grew up under the strongest impression of Fischer's victories.
Although there is a school of thought that thought he wasn't always very sportsmanlike.
Fischer left chess abruptly at age 29, and the rest of his life did very little, if anything, to promote the game of chess. And to the contrary, some of his statements were eccentric or even unacceptable politically. But I don't think that now it really matters, because what we have in our hands, it's his great contribution to our game, and the rest I think will be forgotten, although it distracted the great contribution he did for our game.
He certainly fell foul of the US authorities in later years, and I believe at the time of that game back in 1972 in Reykjavik, he said that he felt that he was pitting the free world against the lying, cheating, hypocritical Russians. How did Russia view him?
In 1972, it was not Russia's Soviet Union, and many in the Soviet Union recognized that Fischer was taking on the mighty Soviet chess school, and in fact, from ideological stance, it was a fight of individual against a totalitarian system. And I think that he had a lot of supporters, even in the Soviet Union, because nobody viewed him as an American fighting Soviets. It was more of a great man fighting mighty machine, and he missed a great chance of promoting the game of chess, because he was probably one of the most popular Americans in mid-70s.
The feeling certainly at that time was that this was the Cold War being fought on the chessboard. Richard Nixon had written to him and telling him how much he wanted him to win. He also heard from Henry Kissinger as well. Do you think that that was a similar view as far as the Soviet Union was concerned with Spassky?
No, I think it was not yet recognized as a matter of such importance, because Soviet dominance was so long, and only after this devastating loss in Reykjavik, Soviet authorities put all the resources to restore the Soviet chess glory, and that's how my predecessor Anatoly Karpov got this tremendous support, because he was seen as the new young star that had to take on Fischer. Unfortunately, their match in 1975, which could be one of the greatest matches in the history of chess, didn't take place because Fischer decided to withdraw. But definitely Fischer's incursion into the midst of the game controlled by Soviets helped to boost the game even in my country.
Do you think, I mean, he certainly played a lot of mind games before that game with Spassky, Boris Spassky, up there in Reykjavik, where he's finally died today. But you know, he was delayed by a week. Didn't turn up. When he finally did turn up, he was an hour late. Then he wanted the table moved, and it had to be put into an anteroom. Then he thought the lights were in the wrong place. Then he wanted all the public moved. Do you think those sort of mind games affected Spassky and saw Fischer just basically beat him out of sight?
I think that Fischer, some of the Fischer's moves out of the chessboard were not just eccentric, but they had a psychological background, because he knew that Spassky was very sensitive to this kind of pressure. And some believe, and again I could rely on the impressions of those who witnessed the match, that Spassky was definitely shaken psychologically, especially after game 2 when Fischer didn't show up, and Spassky got 1 point for doing absolutely nothing. And the recommendation to Spassky was not to show up at game 3 and to return this extra point to Fischer, just to restore the psychological balance. No doubt that Spassky was not ready for this kind of psychological warfare, but at the end of the day, Fischer simply played great chess. He was a better player than Spassky in 1972, because Spassky was at the height of his chess era, and that's in 1972 this era ended, and Fischer was at the beginning of a new professional chess. So he was a pioneer, and he simply superseded Spassky as a professional.
And a final thought, where would chess be now if it hadn't been for Bobby Fischer?
It would be a very, very different game. I think that Fischer could be simply called the founder of professional chess, and his contribution also for a very short time of his dominance in chess was probably the greatest ever happened in chess.
Mr. Kasparov, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.